Hey, how are ya? Hey, how are ya? Hey guys, this is Chief Landless bringing you guys what I'm mostly known for, which is demolition, and a lot of kills go hand in hand with this gameplay and me. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'm using the Silenced Infield, a very underrated beginning assault rifle. I highly recommend using it once you prestige. Not too many people do. They basically use other weapons until the FAMAS is unlocked at the whatever level it's unlocked. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I use it every time I prestige, and it works wonders until better weapons are unlocked. Also, I'd like to point out the kill streaks I'm using here are Spy Plane, Attack Helicopter, and Chopper Gunner. Unfortunately, not the best kill streak setup for demolition, especially with the team that I have, as we all fight for airspace, and a lot of other people have the same type of kill streaks, like a Chopper Gunner or Attack Helicopter. So in the end of the game, I still have a stockpile worth of kill streaks that I never got to use, which is unfortunate, but I didn't have enough COD points at the moment when I prestiged to buy any other kill streaks, so I just I chose the best kill whoring ones and went with it. But that's not the point. What I'm doing right now is I'm fulfilling my promises that I made on my channel. The first one was to make a YouTube settings video of how I basically edit, compress, and upload to YouTube. I have uploaded that video, and you can go search for it on my channel. I'll put the link in. Actually, you know what? I'll put the link in the description. That's a lot easier. So I'll do that there. And so that's one promise fulfilled. The other one was I had promised to tell you guys a story that I mentioned actually a few videos back, which was I guess a story that it's got a big moral to me. It's deep and dear to my heart, and it's the day that I'll never forget, and I believe everyone out there has their own, and I encourage you guys to share your stories, and I promised to do that a while, so I'm going to get that out of the way here. It's rather unorthodox for me to do a story, so if it's not great, I apologize. I'm not known as a storyteller, but I'm fulfilling my promises and moving on, and I would like to point out that yes, I did type up this story, but I did ad-lib here and there, as I did want to put some effort and some thought into it as I tell you guys the story, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys stay here for the full time. I understand it is a longer video, and I appreciate if you watch the entire thing, as the ending is very important. And just want to say thanks guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay in the background as I awkwardly wait for this guy to plant a bomb. I'll let you guys go, and I'll let you guys enjoy the story. Have a good one. And if you wouldn't mind liking the video, if you do so at the end of the video, that'd be great. Thank you. Everyone has at least one day of their life they'll never forget. Let it be for better or for worse. Let it be something embarrassing, something worth celebrating. Something that brings deep feelings to you, or something you can't forget. For me, it's something that I'll always remember, and always look back and think, what could have happened? What would today be like? How different would life be for me? Would I still be who I am today? How much impact would this have on my future? Because every moment we live defines who we are, no matter how big or small. It is a part of your past, part of your present, and will be part of your future. For this moment in my life, I cannot imagine what I would be like if things had played out differently. For this day happened 10 years ago, and I still remember as if it happened yesterday. I was 9 years old at the time, almost 10. I had woken up slowly from a deep sleep, which was unusual for me because today was a school day, and normally I'd be abruptly woken up by my annoying alarm clock. I slowly sat up at the edge of my bed and noticed that my room was filled with sunlight, which, again, this was weird to me, because this time of the year, I normally woke up before the sunrise. I placed my feet on the cold hardwood floors, and then turned around to look at my alarm clock on my desk. which was flashing 12 a.m. Normally a kid would panic and realize maybe the power had gone out. And I was definitely late for school, but I didn't think this. But for some unexplained reason, I knew something was wrong. Why didn't my mother or my younger sister wake me up? Why was the house so quiet? These questions probably caused my blank and lifeless emotion that I felt that very morning. I slowly walked across my bedroom, opened my door, and looked down the long hallway. I saw nothing. My parents' bedroom was open and the room was empty. My dad was out of town for business, and I didn't smell the morning coffee that my mom always makes. I continued walking down the hallway, past the bathroom, past my sister's bedroom, where her door was closed. I reached out for the doorknob to wake her up, and just as my fingers began to touch the cold metal doorknob, I heard a creak in the hardwood floor. I turned slowly away from my sister's bedroom door and towards the direction of the sound, which had come from further down the hall. Again, I saw nothing. I slowly walked down the hall by the kitchen. I looked in. No one was there. It had been untouched from the night before. Dirty dishes laid all over the counter. Something wasn't right. I heard a mumbling voice from behind me, and I quickly turned away from the kitchen and looked towards a half wall, dividing the living room from the kitchen. I didn't want to look around the wall, so I stood on my toes, and I was just tall enough so that I could see over it and into the living room. I saw my mother pacing back and forth, talking very fast and quietly on the phone. I couldn't make out what she was saying. It was so fast and full of what seemed to be emotional nonsense. I backed up from the wall and began to walk around it. That was until the cold hardwood floor creaked again as I stepped down. My mom immediately stopped her pacing. She had her back to me. She had heard me. She turned around and loosened her grip on the phone and pulled it away from her face. I then looked past her as she was no longer blocking the TV, and I saw the light from the TV change from a dull gray to a fiery red and orange in a flash. My eyes finally adjusted to the sunlight that was reflecting off the hardwood floors. When my eyes came back into focus, I saw two gray, tower-like shapes, with one surrounded in a cloud of dark smoke and fire. Just as I saw this on the TV, my mother turned back and looked at the TV, and she immediately jumped in front of it, dropping the phone, and tried to block the TV while madly scrambling to try and find the TV remote. I stood there staring at the TV while she scrambled, and I saw something fly into the other tower, and the TV was once again overwhelmed by a fiery red and orange explosion. Finally, she managed to turn off the TV, but it was too late. I had already seen too much. What I saw cannot and could not be unseen. We stared at each other for minutes, saying nothing, while the dial tone from the phone filled the cold, silent room. Today was September 11th, 2001. Today was 9/11, and my father was on a business trip in New York. And from what my mother had told me, the night before, my dad had one last business meeting in the North Tower the next morning. September 11th. I stood still for what seemed to be hours, but in reality, everything happened within the course of a few minutes. I felt so heavy, I felt like I couldn't move, my bare feet frozen to the cold hardwood floors. My mom reluctantly picked up the phone from the floor, whispered into it, and without breaking eye contact from me, she hung up. She then slowly walked towards me and hugged me. She told me everything she knew, which wasn't much. Everyone in the family was calling our house, but we couldn't get a call out to my father. It seemed like the world's telephone lines were all being used. My mother told me that she had unplugged my alarm clock, as well as my sister's, and she didn't want me to see or know anything until everything was okay. Then the phone began to ring madly again, and she took the phone into the kitchen as I slumped down onto the couch and reluctantly grabbed the TV remote. I turned the TV on and saw the replay of the planes hitting both towers hundreds of times from different angles, over and over and over again. I just sat there emotionless, unable to comprehend what was unfolding over and over again before my eyes. And then just as my mother was walking back into the living room, the unthinkable happened. People began to jump from the towers as they began to fall. I couldn't watch. I watched as New York was swallowed into a cloud of thick, gray dust. I changed the channel to try and get away from it all, and the same image was in front of me. Every channel was the same, with the collapse of the towers playing on repeat. I turned off the TV and just broke down. The rest of the day was a blur. Phones were ringing constantly, all the calls being answered the same. We don't know anything. We haven't heard anything. Hours went by, and the same cycle of events continued. CNN replaying the explosions, the collapse, the phones ringing, and the moments of silence. I didn't know what to do. I felt helpless, emotionless, and lifeless, all at the same time. I wanted for all of this to be a dream so badly, but no pinch would be able to wake me. After everything that had happened began to sink in, I began to think about my father. When was the last time I talked to him? What did I say? What did he say? For that, I didn't have an answer. I don't remember if I talked to him over the phone while he was in New York. The last memory I had of him was him getting into a taxi, leaving our house for the airport. That was it. A casual wave goodbye. The rest of the day I cannot remember. Probably because I didn't want to, but everything that had happened that September morning, I do remember. The next and final memory I had that day was a phone call. The last phone call we made to New York to try and reach my dad. It kept ringing, and ringing, and ringing, and then finally we heard a click, followed by a cough and a very quiet, muffled voice. My dad was alive. It turns out he had slept through the whole ordeal. His hotel was 2 blocks away from Ground Zero, but he and some other co-workers went out late the night before to Hooters. Yes, to Hooters for dinner. When they decided to reschedule their morning meeting in the North Tower to September 12th, one day later. It took my dad almost a week to get out of New York to Toronto and then travel across Canada back home. And when he arrived, I said nothing. I just ran up and hugged him. And then he opened up his suitcase and pulled out a shirt that said, "Pedro eats at Hooters." This because of the Napoleon Dynamite movie that had recently come out. I had almost lost my dad that very day. My last possible memory of him was a silent wave goodbye as he left for the airport in a taxi. If there's anything I can say to you guys, is this: love your family. Tell them that you do every single time you have the chance, because you never know when it may be the last opportunity. Sadly, I didn't learn from this. I didn't learn the first time, because 1 year ago, I didn't talk to my grandmother who had called our house. She only talked to her son, my dad. She wasn't calling to make plans to visit the following weekend like my grandparents do all the time. She was just briefly checking in and saying hello. Something that my grandfather normally does on a daily basis. The next morning, she passed away at home, sitting in her favorite knitting chair. I regret not talking to her on the phone. I regret not even asking to have the phone and just say hello, and even having the chance to say goodbye, even if it wasn't a final goodbye. I would just like to say thank you for listening, and remember, tomorrow is never promised, so make the best of today. Thank you.